Global Fund for Women, specifically Mwadi, for encouraging me to dismiss all the crazy news that the Congo is not safe. I was safe the entire time I was there. And I also want to thank PRAAL, especially Madame Florence and Madame Thérèse and Papa Gauthier, for welcoming me and sharing with me their work and their experience. Like what you said earlier, I'm originally from the DRC. I moved to the US in '96, and this was my first time going back. And this is just a picture of me and Madame Florence and Madame Thérèse. Although during my time in Kinshasa, I had the opportunity to interview and talk with 7 other formal organizations and 2 informal organizations. Today's presentation is really to profile a local NGO and its efforts. So PRAAL stands for Programme de Recherche et d'Appui Alimentaire. So a quick background on PRAAL. They were founded in 1996. Their program areas include literacy in Lingala and French, professional training in couture, hotelery, and aesthetic. They also organize women's groups around income-generating activities and financial management. They also have savings groups. They hold workshops on reproductive health and women's rights. And they have very limited sources of funding. They have received 2 grants from Global Fund for Women and 1 from Volance Foundation for their Good Couture program. They do have small revenues from tuition fees, but unfortunately over 80% of participants can afford the $10 monthly fees. And they also have received, since they were founded, some contribution from Women in Development in Kinshasa. It's an association group. And this is just a quick participant experience for women and girls. They had different experiences. For young girls prior to joining PRAAL, most dropped out of traditional school because of lack of financial means to pay tuition. The largest employer, with employment of over 85%, the largest employer is the military and the police force. And the monthly salary is $70 to $80, but tuition is around $300. And girls also dropped out when parents could no longer afford tuition, either because of a death in the family or a parent remarried. Commonly, a father abandons the family when he takes a second, third, fourth wife. And or teen pregnancy, which is really high. And for women, the experiences range from early marriage. They dropped out to help with house chores, especially in rural areas. And most dropped out in primary school before 3rd grade. There are experiences after PRAAL for young girls. They felt like they learned a professional trade. They no longer consider marriage as the only escape out of poverty. They can choose to marry for love. They feel empowered and in charge of their own lives. And now they can directly contribute to support their mothers and siblings. They can now say that they're educated. And for women, the experience was that they learned how to better manage money. They also learned how to diversify to minimize business risks. Like I have this one woman who told me that she only used to sell water. When it's cold, people don't buy water. But through the training, she was able to also have charcoal to just balance out, or have roasted peanuts. And they were able to afford tuition for their children. They had improved physical, emotional, and mental health. They learned that they have rights and don't have to stay in abusive relationships. And as a result of nutritional trainings and skills acquired in production, processing, and preservation of local foods, they now make better choices for their families. And children are happier and healthier. And on this particular day, we had a walk-in, a mother and daughter. The daughter's name is Pierrette, and the mother is Mama Marie. And Pierrette first enrolled at PRAAL when she was 14 years old, but once she got pregnant, she dropped out of the program. And on this day, the mom brought her back to re-enroll, and I will just share a short video with you on their experience.
That left earlier. Is it already open?
Yeah, it probably is. Oh, yes. I was just
Close one of the windows.
Sorry, technical difficulties. Just open it. Okay, anyways, going back to the presentation. So here, Mama Marie is talking with us why she brought her daughter back to PRAAL. So this is not the first time that Mama Marie came to PRAAL's office. Everyone knows her, but other team, Madame Therese. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so here she's just sharing why she brought her daughter back. And basically she said that the daughter went to live with her boyfriend's family, and after 2 years she decided to take her daughter back because she knew that by staying with the family she wouldn't be able to go back to school. And she brought her back because she realized that marriage is not a long-term investment for her future, and she sees value in education. That's why she came back. Just gonna give it back to the presentation. And here we have two program participant success stories. On the left, we have Iyenga, who is a mother of 3. She was in an abusive relationship. After escaping, she enrolled in PRAAL, Coupe Couture program. And on this day, we visited her at her place of employment. And I had a chance to talk to her employer, who spoke highly of the quality that PRAAL is able to produce. And on the right, I have Raisa and Madame Therese. Raisa did the aesthetic program, and after graduating, she was hired at this hair salon. And the employer actually enrolled her on this to PRAAL's aesthetic program. And here, this is an example of 2 ateliers funded by Global Fund for Women. And I can elaborate more during Q&A, but it really speaks of how PRAAL tries to leverage its limited resources by partnering and collaborating with other organizations and program participants, especially the Atelier Couture Melia. This was a partnership with a program participant's family to use their land and use Global Fund for Women's funding to buy the materials.
Do people know what couture is?
Coupe couture is tailoring.
Seamstress.
Seamstress. Sorry. And this is an example of one of the informal women's groups that I mentioned earlier. And this is the Salon Monafila. And it's an income generating activities that and training that was formed after the women received training from PRAAL. And they mainly focus on the production of household products. So instead of buying soap, they make soap and cleaning products that are not as toxic. And they really don't have a budget. It really depends on the activities that the groups are able to generate. And unfortunately, in 2014, group activities were suspended due to lack of funding, but the women still meet regularly. And I can also share with you what led to the group being suspended. And here, since we had technical difficulty, I'm not gonna show the video. It's a really short video. Basically, this woman here, Mama Boudet, shares her experience after receiving training from PRAAL. So she basically says that before she received training from PRAAL, she didn't know how to manage money. But after the training, she learned the importance of separating original investment from the profit that she makes, which the profit goes back to the group, and the group can in turn borrow directly from that pool instead of relying on micro financing groups like Finca. I mean, all the women in this group and everywhere I went had horrible stories on Finca. And this is a really low interest rate that goes back to the community, and they feel like it's their money that they're managing. And this is another group, Lisanga Kisantu. And I forgot to mention earlier, but PRAAL works in 3 provinces, in Kinshasa, Bas-Congo, and Equateur. And this is the women's group in Bas-Congo in Kisantu. And again, it's often income generating activities, they were formed after receiving training from PRAAL. And here they focus on the transformation of local food. For example, the women, they have 2 different groups because different women had different strengths. Some could work on making chikwon, which is a local staple, but to increase the nutritional value, they add peanuts in it. And another group mainly focus on making dried fish that they in turn take in more rural areas to sell. And one of the things that the women shared with me is that by working as a group, they're able to mass produce, and they're able to also produce specifically for order. But unfortunately, because everything is so labor intensive and manual, sometimes they're not able to meet demand, especially when there are conferences around town. When they place orders, sometimes they cannot produce it. So one of the concerns that they expressed was the need to buy equipment. And here, this is PRAAL's graduation. It was on August 16th. And it was just amazing to see all these families. You had families of 10, 20 people like wearing matching outfits and just celebrating that their daughters finally have an education. And as part of the training, PRAAL places all their graduates into year-long internships that sometimes they're hired in those places, or PRAAL continues to work with them until they can find employment.
How many people graduated?
Here we had all 4 programs. It was probably around 80. Yeah. And here I'm with 3 PRAAL graduates. The one in the middle is Dieudonné, who graduated in the hotelieri program. I mean, hotelieri is basically working in hotels, which if you go to Kinshasa, I don't know if it's true in other parts, but there are constructions everywhere. There are hotels everywhere. Hotels are as expensive as here, like $400 a night. And even people who have master's degree, it's more lucrative to work at a hotel. So the jobs are very competitive. Even my own half-sister that I met when I was there, she was struggling to find employment, and PRAAL was able to, even finding an internship is competitive. PRAAL was able to find her an internship. And then in the middle, it's Carmel. She actually did 2 programs. She did aesthetic, which is pretty much cosmetic, like doing hair, and couture. And she's the one who braided my hair. And the one with the red braids is Prudence, and she did couture, and she's the one who braided my hair. And she also manages one of the ateliers that I showed earlier. And some common challenges that PRAAL and the other organizations that I met with expressed is that poverty is a huge problem for all the women's groups. And with over 80% of women and young girls served are illiterate, and this was expressed by 4 different programs. There is a lack of support from government, and sometimes the government actually refers people to nonprofits, claiming that they're the ones with the resources. And there is a lack of cohesion and partnerships and collaboration between the groups, because there's a lot of competition for resources. The groups that I talked to, because I was brought in by PRAAL, they were very collaborative. But once I stepped out and talked to other groups that I found on my own, they were pretty much in the same district, commune, but they don't even talk to each other, don't even know that they exist. And some recommendations that I have, these are more specific to other foundations and foreign aid agencies. I have more specific ones for PRAAL, but I mean for Global Fund for Women that I can cover during Q&A. But I think that foundations and foreign aid agencies need to reconsider the current project-based funding priorities and fund grassroots NGOs with capacity building. And they can also learn from Global Fund for Women on how to identify credible local NGOs, basically having a more community-based approach to funding. And they also need to focus on advocacy, movement building organizations, and social service organizations equally, because there was a lot of discrepancies between level of funding with all the organizations that I interviewed. And one thing that was expressed to me, which was shocking, is that a lot of NGOs in Kinshasa feel like all the funding is going to NGOs in Eastern Congo, and very little is going to the DRC, in Kinshasa. So I would recommend that funders look at investing both in Eastern Congo and in Kinshasa, especially in adult literacy. Just some messages of hopes that the women and programs shared with me. It's only after women are empowered, then we can start talking about politics, human rights. Women have ambitions, but it is buried in their illiteracy. Ignorance is a dangerous disease. This was expressed repeatedly by different organizations. The one that I really like is God wants people to be equal. There is no constitution that says that we are not equal. Women also need to fight. So even though we have laws that have been passed, it's not going to be implemented until women themselves engage in movement building and engage in actually making sure that policies are implemented. Okay, I have to play this video because it really speaks of the power and resilience of women in the DRC. Almost all the women in these videos are widows. One of them, the one wearing the blue shirt, Mama, I forget her name. But prior to joining this group, she used to walk, I still can't believe it, but she said she used to walk from where she was in, somewhere around Kinshasa to Congo, Brazzaville, trying to sell charcoal with her 6-month-old baby on her back. And it was just hard on her body, and also charcoal making it is very toxic. But by going through this training and joining these women, she now makes Shikwang, and the group, it's also a support group for them. And here they're sharing with us the song that they sing to close all their meetings. Let's see if this will play. It's in Kikongo. I don't understand Kikongo, but somehow you can just feel the joy that they're feeling. Turn the volume up. Sorry, I don't have my glasses.
Kasi, bumiga na Lucas.
So we just asked them, what is the song of your Lisanga? And she says, we only sing Catholic songs. I'm like, what is it? So that's the woman who used to walk from Islam to Congo Brazil. Anyways, I will stop. I can send the presentation around and you guys can watch the rest, but it's really, I was moved. I went there 2 days before my birthday and I didn't know that this was being filmed. So once I went back to Kinshasa and I watched this, and it was just the best birthday present.